I have a little question that came up that's, relevant but not so relevant. I was reading through a Shivananda book, and it said in there that Raja Yoga is the practice of the eight limbs. Is that correct?
That's right, yeah. Because what happened, it was 19th century very end, and there was a great teacher and yogi, Vivekanand.
Yeah, okay.
Vivekanand, credit goes to Vivekanand to actually bring Patanjali Yoga forward. Before that, it was not popular, it was mainly Hatha Yoga. And he gave the name to Patanjali's yoga, Raja Yoga.
Oh, okay.
Because royal yoga or
Royal.
king of all yogas.
Okay.
So that is how it became Raj Yoga.
Mm. And he brought it he was one of the first yogis to bring it to the West.
It was there, but because he was such a towering figure, whatever he taught or proposed was accepted by masses. So after that, it simply became very popular.
Right. So is it still kind of known as that?
Raj Yoga, yeah.
Yeah.
Raj Yoga, some people call Raj Yoga, but more and more it is called eight-limbed yoga or Patanjali's yoga.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So this, what we're learning, all of it is really it's all like Raj Yoga.
Raj Yoga.
Yeah. Okay.
Royal Yoga, King Yoga. But the way yoga is taught in the West and even in India now is a mixture of Hatha Yoga and Raj Yoga.
Right.
Because from Hatha Yoga they borrowed the postures.
Right. Yeah, I think that's where I kind of got confused of what Raj Yoga was. I was having a hard time defining it, but okay, so that makes sense.
Yeah.
So how many total postures Hatha Yoga had originally? Only 8? How many did it have? Because there's so many poses right now.
Yeah, I really
Oh,
don't know.
in the Hatha Pradipika? In the Hatha Pradipika? Yeah.
I don't know, I'm just saying originally,
Original
we
text,
probably
yeah.
wouldn't have that many postures, right?
No, but there were quite a few. I don't know, I don't remember the number.
I know there's original, I know as of recent, there's original 84 Hatha postures.
Oof.
And then, but then there's Shiva has something about, there's some writing about Shiva having 84,000 different postures or something that I came across. But then in the yogas, in the Hatha Yoga Pradipika, I think there's not that many. There's, around 8 or 10 or something like that. And then the Granda Samhita added maybe 2 more or something like that.
Wow.
Right, so there is no question, then again I will go back. And so we started with a discussion that we want to reach our original nature, and that original nature, according to the Kapil who gave the philosophy of Sankhya, we talked about that briefly, is Purusha. And why we don't reside in our nature? Because of the creation or the formation of this universe. So here is Purusha, here is Prakriti, means pure consciousness and matter energy. Once they combine, whole universe comes into action. And as soon as the universe emerges, we lose the sight of pure consciousness. So that pure consciousness is always seen through the veil of matter and energy and its endless patterns. So just like sun is reflecting in a lake, in a pool, in an ocean, in a river, or a pot full of water. So we see the sun we don't see directly the sun because our eyes are looking here. We don't look up sun, which is equivalent to pure consciousness. So we see different ways to see, different interpretation of it. We described it differently. So same thing happened with pure consciousness, that when it is reflected in our body, in our emotions and thoughts, because we are conscious, it is interpreted entirely differently. So we perceive it as, I'm conscious of my anger and jealousy and happiness and bliss. Or I'm thinking, I'm analyzing, I'm self-reflecting, I'm writing, so on and so forth. Still, consciousness is there, but it is indirect. So we are lost in these endless expression of mind. And people call it different levels of consciousness. Subconscious, conscious, superconscious, and then all kinds of levels, if you read. But it is only one, the pure consciousness. But because it is reflected, just like a person who doesn't know about electricity and goes to a particular place where a computer, table lamp, a camera, a mobile, all will think differently because can't see or can't feel the electricity directly, in the same way. And the problem with these patterns is they are ever changing, because consciousness, pure, never changes. It is changeless, it is eternal, it is infinite. The moment is it reflected through a pattern of the matter and energy, immediately it is bounded. Any manifestation of it. So whether it is in a bacteria or in me, in my thoughts and emotions, because all thoughts and emotions are limited. And that precisely is called Maya. Because if I'm not aware of that Purusha, pure consciousness, then I will think that consciousness is limited. It's limited to my thought, my emotions, or whatever I'm doing. And Maya means which can be measured. You can scale it. Meanwhile, pure consciousness being infinite and is eternal, you can never scale it. You cannot measure it. It's beyond measure. It is measureless. Measure means when I'm measuring something, 1 liter, 2 liter, 5 liters. So that is what happens, we get limited. We think it is finite, and that is what scientists does. Number one. Number two, these patterns are ever changing. As somebody said, that only permanent thing in our world is the change itself. Or you cannot step in the same river twice. So it is always changing, and we become the part of that change. So our life is always ever changing, ever changing. There is no sense of real rest. We relax, but rest in terms of yoga is when your background becomes that Purusha, the pure consciousness, which is non-changeable. It is absolute, complete tranquility. It is not active. You rest and then you deal with the changes. No problem. So that is the reason behind all suffering. And those changes are reflected in 5 modifications, waves. And we talked about that: right perception, wrong perception, memory, sleep, and imagination. And the sum total result of this fluctuation is 5 kleshas, or 5 type of suffering or afflictions. Ignorance is one, then asmita, sense of individuality, because all this world gives us I'm individual, not realizing, yes, I'm individual, but I'm also something which is beyond individual. And because we are in the midst of all this, then rag, I get attached. And then if I don't get attached, then I develop aversion. I don't like this, I like this. I love this, I don't love this. And finally, we cling to the life rather than realizing that life and death actually you cannot separate. So those 5 afflictions we talk. So you can see the continuation of it.
I have a question just about is it Asmita?
Asmita.
I amness. When people are saying affirmations like I am wealthy, I am healthy, these things, is that not wrong, but is that part of that? Or are they separating
Still
themselves?
in Maya, right?
It is in Maya, but that is in the beginning is necessity.
Right.
The reason being why that is necessary, because so many people don't have a healthy asmita.
Mm-hmm.
They have unhealthy. And we are going to talk today about that actually. Because once I have healthy asmita, then I can move on. A true sense of individuality. But so many people's sense of self is damaged. Because they were abused, they were traumatized. They are not rooted in their own sense of self, their identity. So their asmita is not healthy. That is why we have to do that affirmation in the beginning. And that is a very important question you ask. And the reason being, you go to teacher, they will say, go beyond ego. But first of all, I have to have a healthy sense of ego.
Mm-hmm.
If I don't have healthy sense of ego, how I will go beyond it, because I will be stuck in it, because a lot of people have unhealthy sense of ego. I mean, including me. I had that. And so we will discuss today healthy ego or self, healthy. So the first thing in children, the most vital is to give them healthy sense of ego, healthy sense of self. So they have a very healthy reference. So neither they are suffering from superiority complex or inferiority complex. They don't have too much self-esteem or very little self-esteem. And in lot of adults. So in Rishikesh I was teaching, and I'm getting these people from all over the world. And they all want to transcend, and they go into 6th dimension and realize in samadhi. I said, okay, that's fine. That's a beautiful goal. But tell me about your life. Do you have a good relationship with your partner, with your family? Are you able to earn your livelihood? Or you are not abusing substance once in a while? Beautiful. Or you have persistent anxiety or depression. You are not isolating yourself from the world, feeling extremely lonely. I said, tell me about your ordinary life. And I found lots of them didn't have. So it became an escape mechanism, the yoga. Because they wanted to escape that pain and suffering, isolation, loneliness, sense of rejection from outside, maladaptation, maladjustment. They wanted to weave this beautiful world of yoga or meditation or Vedanta. And it was helping them escape. But nonetheless, it was just a fantasy, an idea in their mind, because their real life was not rooted in themselves. They were alienating from themselves, self-alienation, escape from themselves. So that is where asmita comes. I have to affirm myself. But that doesn't mean that, first of all, you will do this complete and then move. No. Because that's the beauty of 8 limbs. 8 limbs, they work together. So it is not that, okay, I will develop healthy sense of self, then I will move. No, actually. Multiple limbs can go together because you start getting glimpses of all.
Yeah, I think that's where I got confused with that book where the guy was saying you have to go this way. You have to follow these steps to reach it all. But then to be involved in society, then you have to have kind of all of the, you have to practice a little bit, all of like little pieces at the same time.
Yes, simultaneously going on, because 8 limbs doesn't mean 8 steps.
Mm-hmm.
I have 4 limbs. Okay, then magically I develop 8 limbs. 8 limbs, they have to function together. Will I say, okay, first of all, my upper limbs will function, then lower? So Patanjali is very clever. He didn't say 8 steps. He said 8 limbs. 8 limbs are all organic, and whichever limb has to function in that particular time has to function. So sometimes it will be first and third, sometimes fifth and second, depending what you are experiencing. But you can't say other limb came into being. Suppose pratyahar came, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, fifth limb. So you won't say, no, I won't do it. First of all, no. Blessings are coming. But simultaneously, you know there is a problem with the identity. So I have to strengthen, not only lost in pratyahar. So that is why he never said 8 steps. He said 8 limbs. In an organic body, all 8 limbs are functioning. But some people don't understand because they are so literal minded. Okay, somebody described in the book, so I have to. No.
So that's kind of how you said, I think we touched a bit on last week, was this people could have this samadhi experience without going through all this and not know kind of what it is in a sense.
Yes. What happened? When people have trauma, actually one of these samadhi may happen accidentally. So much energy is released in trauma and it took the brain to a samadhi experience. And they think, the experience trying to solve the problem, not knowing it is not going to stay, because after that samadhi experience disappears, then they are still left with their damaged self. They have to fix. Because they came, I experienced it, I know it. I said, you are right. Because what happened in those moments, that is how brain functioned, and you had a glimpse. Maybe you lived for a few days, sometimes even a month. It disappears. It won't be anchored. Anchoring, permanent change happens when the fundamental self is stabilized.
A quick question, just so I understand, is the Kundalini experience and samadhi, are they 2 different things?
No.
It's
Samadhi experienced, interpreted as energy becomes this. Samadhi experience interpreted as Buddhist nirvana is another way. In Christianity is interpreted as connection with God. They are fundamentally the same, because samadhi simply means as you are gradually transcending. We will discuss samadhi one by one and it will become very clear. But it is merely interpretation from different points. It is the same thing. So, healing happens through energy. So somebody is saying therapeutic touch, somebody is saying Reiki, somebody is saying chiropractor, somebody is saying acupuncture, somebody is saying, Western medicine, somebody calling energy medicine. It doesn't matter. Basically, the body tissue and the energy is involved, which is healing. It's different interpretations.
And then some people respond differently to each practice as
Yes,
well.
exactly. Because depending on my nature, so there is no fundamental difference between Kundalini experience and Samadhi. No. But it is a matter of experience, how you experienced it. So in a Kundalini person, the primary experience will be of energy and all those experiences. Because they were uniquely built for that experience. In a Buddhist, it will never happen like that. But it is the same Samadhi.
Okay. Okay.
So Jesus, Buddha, all those had a Samadhi experience. Interpreted in a different way. So I think so far we are pretty clear. And that will integrate, what you were mentioning, your interest in various types of healing and therapies, because that is all integrated in this. That is why I was saying that all what you are interested in, please don't leave your interest, because everything will come together.
Kundalini awakening doesn't have to be a sudden thing, right? Sorry. It doesn't have to be a sudden thing.
Oh, it can be.
I know it can be, but can it be also very gradual?
Very slow and gradual.
Okay, so you don't feel like this rush,
No.
the way so many people reported, you could be
No.
gradually.
Very
transformed.
very slow. And in between you will have some, kind of rush, and then, but then it can be extremely slow over lifetime. But in some it can be
Because I
massive.
think the expectation is for everyone to just have this massive experience.
Good grief.
Yeah, okay. Fine.
Has
Yeah.
to process
Yeah.
a little bit.
Yeah, because I'm teaching a French course. It's for the people from France, and one of my students interprets, and they said, after completing this course, we will get to Samadhi. Because they are innocent. The same thing about Kundalini. Now we are starting Kundalini program, and it started actually last Wednesday. So same question, after this course, Kundalini will be awakened. I said, no, I'm just giving you an idea. And it may happen, it may not happen.
Now, on that note, you hear people say, oh, Kundalini rising is dangerous and it's bad and it can really mess you up psychologically. And I've heard people say that based on maybe the person, it was quick and the person wasn't ready for such an experience. Have you heard of that? Is that true?
It's true.
Okay.
So, a person who is traumatized and Kundalini is awakened, person is not grounded
Right.
in the body.
Right.
It will rise to the brain and it will create this mental world, because energy is moving and it brings all kinds of psychic experience. Person is already not grounded, already had problem of anxiety, emotional volatility. It will increase the anxiety and emotional volatility further. And because if there is nobody to guide, so person will isolate. Oh, this is such a precious experience, I should not talk, and I must, meditate more and do all kinds of things. person is further disconnected from the body,
Right.
then it will manifest as emotional or mental illness, although temporary. That is what happens to people. It used to happen there again in Rishikesh, that these people are going through experience. They say it is fantastic. I said, no, please don't attend our class for a week. I'll cover it personally for you. You just enjoy your life. Walk around Ganga, have good food, just enjoy, be grounded. Because I knew, she was going into this mental world. Mental world is okay if I am connected with body, because then body will anchor the experience. All mental and emotional health problems have single reason: when we are disconnected from the body. If we are not disconnected from the body, it is impossible to have mental and emotional problem. We will have it, come back. So, in minor illnesses, anxiety, depression, in a variety of emotional volatility, borderline personality, eating disorder, the disconnection is partial. In case of psychosis, bipolar disorder, schizophrenia, and other paranoid state, the disconnection is complete. The moment you can connect the person to the body, because body means I'm connected with ordinary world, I'm connected with nature. So that is where it can be a problem. Because those experiences are so beautiful, so powerful, people just said, no, you don't even know, where you will land.
Right.
And then that's where the fear comes in.
That's
Don't do yoga. You'll go crazy.
Oh, no, it's not true. But if you have immediately, that is why in North America, there was a network called Spiritual Emergence Network, SEN. And it was initiated by Christina Groff, who was the wife of Stanislav Grof.
Yes.
And she had gone through this, they call it spiritual emergency, because Kundalini is awakened and then you are exploding into this psychedelic world, just like you consume drug.
Yeah.
And what to do about it? So they started it, so that don't worry. It is going to be okay. Be in the ordinary world.
Yeah.
Forget about meditation, forget about yoga, forget about breath work. Clean the floor, wash the dishes, cook the food, take the dog for a walk, meet your friends, have a cup of coffee, and then start it again.
I see it a lot and with new people that are coming into like yoga and these things. And I was there too, 100%. But I think that realizing that all this spiritual world and yoga, it's a tool to make your life here on earth better and to deal with things better. It's not to erase everything. Like, you still have to do the work, but the work that you're doing on yourself in these ways are tools to like help deal with those things outside.
Your relationship with your wife or husband, with the lover, beloved, your son and daughter, your employee will get better.
So I'm wondering then if that's why sometimes I feel like, okay, I'm doing practices and they're great and they're lovely, and sometimes I just need to step away, not do them for a while. Like intuitively, I'm just like, I just can't consume any more of that. I need to just be.
Exactly.
So that's why. Okay.
Exactly. Because this ordinary world is the most beautiful world. The moment we get disconnected, hell will break loose sooner or later.
So in stepping away, what is the message we usually see to step back in?
Thing is that once you are stabilized, okay, you start your practice again. Because that is what they were doing. Now you can contemplate about it, you read about it. And gradually you discover, okay, this is the point. Okay, I'm going to be less isolated, less reading, less practice. And gradually, the body and those experiences will be deeply connected. And a point come, you need not to worry at all. You won't be lost. That is why Patanjali, the first limb, is Yama. So we are starting 8 limbs now. And as I said, there are 8 limbs, not 8 steps. But in order for us to understand, Yama. Yama means, Yama, the word comes from Yamraj, the Lord of Death. But Yamraj is also Dharmraj, the maintainer of the sacred law. So this is quite interesting that death and life are completely intertwined. That if you want to live a sacred life, then you have to understand the death. Otherwise, we will only cling to life and we'll be completely doing everything in a weird way because we are not aware that death is going to come. Everything which is born died, our emotions, our thoughts, and so on and so forth. But here the meaning is that you have to be in control, your individuality. This individuality has to be rooted in a society, in a culture. So the first limb is all about healthy sense of self. Yama. Because otherwise we will become narcissistic. So death of the narcissism basically means me only and nothing else. So you have to be rooted in a positive way. That is the whole purpose of Yama. Because now you will be on solid ground. In a culture, in a religion, in a social structure. So we have to understand this is so fundamental. So if as an adult I'm not rooted, it's a very good idea to rooting, because if now I'm rooted, I'll be all over. And how that rooting is created? By Satya. In Yama there are 5 elements. Satya means truth. That we can never speak complete truth. It is an impossibility. Every single child is a liar.
Yep.
Has to be. Because here is a child with all its life energy and carefree nature, and the adults are saying, listen, you have to adjust to the society. Mm-hmm. So these two energies, innocent energy and adult world, organized world, are clashing. So child may follow 80%, 90%, but child wants to do something. Parents say, no, this is not good. Child will do that. Mm-hmm. And when parents will ask, they will say, I didn't do it. In that moment, what we call our secret self is born. Mm-hmm. We all carry secrets. We will never reveal those secrets to anyone. It is an impossibility. Because those secrets are so terrible. Because we develop all kinds of thoughts of killing and raping and destroying and damaging and whatever we did. That it will be too much to reveal. That birth of the secret self happens. So we must not expect complete truth because it starts in our childhood. Real truth is when I'm not speaking lies to myself. There is no need to tell others.
Right.
But when I believe in my own lies, that becomes a problem. So something happened to me, secret in my heart, but I'm totally aware that was a fact. Then my life won't be distorted. It's not necessary to share all my secrets to people. Why? But I must share with myself. A lot of people do, oh, it didn't happen to me. No, I think it must be my imagination. Or they will find excuse. It can eat like a worm. So that is the meaning of Satya here. Share the truth, but not all of them if I don't need to. Because then my world will function in a good way. Otherwise, I'll be a twisted and very distorted person. Ahimsa is non-violence, minimum of it. We cannot stop violence. It is impossibility. Knowingly or unknowingly, it will happen, either by words, by deeds, or so on and so forth. Third is brahmacharya. Celibacy, they call it, completely a wrong idea. Because Brahm literally means expansion of consciousness. And Charya means walking the path of expansion of consciousness. People interpret it as celibacy. The whole idea is...
Brahm is what?
Brahm.
Yeah, what was the
Expansion of
Expansion of
consciousness.
consciousness.
And then the Chara is walking the path of expansion.
Yeah. So whatever brings in my life expansion, freedom, opening, I must follow that. Whatever constrict my world, narrow, imprisons me, I should not follow that. And that is true to sex also. Now, so many people I know, celibacy. You stop the natural flow, and now this energy is becoming pathological. You're obsessed. I stayed in a monastery, I've seen so much of it. Exterior is all very beautiful. Underneath, these monks, nuns, it's just raging.
Yeah. Like, what do you do with that energy? Where's it going?
It's so natural,
Crazy.
though.
I know. It's so odd.
We're born with it. Yeah.
It is beautiful.
Yeah.
It is most beautiful when it flourishes. You can't believe. We'll talk about sex to sensuality because ultimately a very natural sexual energy, it gives us experience of sensuality. Our whole being is soaked in that gentle bliss which we experience during sex. That is a peak point. Actually, I know one monk who committed suicide because he took the vow of celibacy, couldn't hold it, did. I knew both of them, and he felt so guilty.
So sad.
Such a brilliant, such a beautiful human being. Still I remember because we worked together.
Sad.
Yeah, I think like Osho says, like, how could something that creates life be so bad?
Yes. But Osho took it so casually.
Right.
He made a mockery
Too
of it.
a little too
Yeah.
casually.
He said, but whenever you feel with whomsoever feel, do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He completely forgot the message that it is with one partner. We have to untie all the knots. Because what was his thing? Purely hedonistic.
Yeah, I didn't come across that part of his teachings, but I never got into that part. I got more into like his religious side of the teachings, so I never came across that.
For
What
7
was in his
years,
Osho?
I read hundreds.
Well, I've
of-
seen it in like the documentary and stuff like that.
No, actually, I read the books, and that is what was his message. So these people were constantly, leaving their children, wives, and husband, and involved with whomsoever you want. What it is going to, it is like snacking, You
Yeah.
never get sated.
Yeah.
And also, the most important part of the sex is in a loving to untie the knots of my life. All of us carry knots because this body was not used, or there was a concept about body, so I cannot open my body totally to the other. Or there are emotional knots from my life. All
Would that
kinds.
be like the shyness? Is that what you're? Is that like?
That's right,
Okay.
shyness.
Yeah.
Because shyness, I'm shy about the body because somebody told me, oh no, you must not do this, you must do this, this is wrong, this is unspiritual, this is spiritual, the body is filth, and all kinds of nonsense. In a real open body, two adults become innocent children, as if they had no knowledge of any philosophy, anything. They just play. No trace of guilt, nothing. They just do. No, they are unknotted. So, Satya, Ahimsa, and Brahmacharya. So, Brahmacharya, anything which makes me free expands.
Question about that. So something that's maybe constantly coming up to your life that may feel like it's not expanding you, but you're just not looking at it that way. Could that be a form of like expansion? Like say, I don't know, something that just keeps coming up in your life. That keeps like, oh, there it is again. You're not focusing on that. You're not paying attention to it. Like to me, sometimes I can feel like it's like overwhelming you in a way, but you're just not looking at it in that sense of, no, you need to address this
Yes,
to
that's right.
expand
That's
in
right.
a way. Okay.
That's right. So, if sex makes you a prisoner, you don't feel good about it, then you have to think what to do with it. But if a sexual expression make you free, then you have to follow it. For anything. It may be food. It may be traveling. It may be money. Because primary is not those things. Those become instrument. Primary is your expansion. You are not constricted in your life. You are expanding your life. That is the exact meaning of brahmacharya. You are having sex in extreme guilt. It is locking you in the guilt. You feel guilty, then you become angry. You become angry, you feel more guilty. So you have to rethink what to do with it. What is the alternative path? That is the meaning of brahmacharya.
That changes everything, right? Like when you read the Yoga Sutras, it literally changes everything.
That's right.
Because like it's like seems like the first step, if it's taught the other way, it's like, okay, you can't go any further.
No, because you are now fighting a war with yourself.
Yeah.
So Osho made it frivolous, and other yogis made it completely constricted. You have to find yourself. So Satya, the truth, completely to yourself. You must not tell lies to yourself. Outside world, you cannot stop. You have to tell lies. Because the way our society is built, if you don't tell lies, it will be very difficult to deal with people. In a party you go, you are meeting your friend, your relatives, and you tell them the truth. Connection will be off. Because this society, what we call society, is a rehearsal since our childhood. What to say to a particular person. And if you tell the wrong thing to your boss, to your elders, to your children, so this is all very much a drama, a surface drama. You cannot tell truth. Sometimes you tell, but it has to be a very straight one. I don't like you, rarely can be done. With parents, with children, with relatives, with friends, with a spouse, because that is how this society functions. So don't worry about sometimes you have to tell lies for the greater good, but inside you, you are perfectly clear, I told. So Satya, Ahimsa, which is non-hurting, non-violence, and Brahmacharya. And last two is Aste, non-stealing. And then Aparigraha, not having excessive possession. We must have enough for us and some reserve for future. If we are a monk, we need not to worry because we are alone. Who cares? But once I am a parent, once I am father or mother, I am taking care of my parents. Of course you have to have all that.
So excessive possession would just be like more than what you need or required.
Required, and plus there has to be surplus for at least 1 year. So that if crisis happens, you know that for 1 year I will find a way, at least for 1 year.
What's it called, number 5?
Aparigraha. Next time I will show the slide, it will become clear. In India, you used to say you must have enough plus surplus for rainy day. In Canada, you will say for 1 winter. Because here, so in 1 winter, 1 rainy day means 1 year. So that you can find enough way. At least for 1 year. If I am alone, no problem. Now, all these 5 yama is to decrease the narcissism, killing of the narcissism. I'm telling the truth. I'm non-violent. And I'm doing things which are expanding my consciousness. I'm not accumulating and I'm not stealing. A typical narcissist will do opposite. So now I'm building a society, right? The society which will be more sattvic, harmonious, better one. Because if I am following this, so I am building an identity, a sense of healthy self. And that is why if most people, not all people, most people in a society behave in this way, that is ideal for yoga. Because a child which is born in this kind of atmosphere, most people, not all, it's an impossibility. There cannot be any society where everybody, but most people. So Patanjali was very clever because he said, if in a society, in a culture, where all these are not followed, it will be chaotic. In a chaotic society, what remains? Only one goal, survival. In a society which is functioning more harmoniously, we can think more than survival. So if you really look, many countries or many communities where war is going on, people are corrupt, they are doing all kinds of things. You worry all the time about your survival and safety. How you can think about yoga and going to samadhi? Forget about it. I just want to survive because I'm not safe. So we develop a healthy community, healthy culture, we develop a sense of healthy self.
I have a question about ahimsa in the yoga community. Maybe similar to brahmacharya, but they'll take what is your take on the vegan thing? Because it's equated a lot to ahimsa and non-violence and not eating animals. And so what are your thoughts on that?
A fundamental rule of this is, if you can use the food which comes from the least conscious organism, animals or plants, because there is a food chain. So at the very bottom of our plants, they are the least conscious. They are conscious because we have to survive. So first thing that I cannot leave anything. After that comes animals, very primal animals, primitive animals. They are least conscious animals. And then comes more conscious animals. And finally the human being, the most conscious. Nobody can doubt. So whole idea to me is the consume those who are the least conscious, because in the least conscious, emotions are not formed. They have energy, life energy, but they don't have emotions. Because when you slaughter any animal, cut any tree, they don't have emotions, they have feelings because they are alive. If animals have emotions, those emotions are connected with their neurohormones, neurotransmitter, biochemistry. So those emotions are trapped in form of biochemistry. So for example, in Western world, they grow animals in animal form. And some of the best meat is produced in those areas where they actually grow animal in a confined space, because their muscles cannot move. If your muscles are not moving, they become soft. So such animals actually, they cannot stand firmly on their feet. Because if they have to stand on their feet, their muscle has to be strong, but they are not soft. Now, consumer want very soft, everything soft, because it becomes more delicious. Now what is happening over the years or months? They are in torture, they are suffering. They are kept alive artificially. All those stress hormone and all related molecular biology is trapped in their muscles and flesh. Consume them. Yes. So least, even if you want to eat, meat, just try to be as the least conscious one.
Or what if there's ones that are more like farmed, raised, not so captive, like that have
Much better
energy,
because they have their freedom energy.
Yeah.
And that is why Aboriginal indigenous people, what they did, before they killed the animal, they prayed and they killed quickly. So the animal didn't have much time to react. Very quick. And rest of the life, they were very free. So that momentary stress of 1 to 2 hours didn't change their physiology. Because in order to change physiology, you need some time.
And they use every part of the animal, and they have like a ceremony honoring and thanking the process.
That's right. That's right.
Before they eat it.
That's right. Because it was necessary, just like in Tibet. You can't survive. So, my opinion, of course, this is just the individual opinion, that trying to eat that food which has minimal consciousness and quickly done, and it should be raised in more natural environment. And it can, yeah, Mira,
Does that apply to dairy as well?
to,
Dairy, like milk and yogurt, and because I
Yeah.
know like in India, like a lot of people are vegetarian, but they use a lot of dairy.
yeah, a lot of dairy, because dairy is fairly, humanistic there, because cow became sacred.
Yeah, so there's just less stress hormones in there.
Exactly. Because why they gave the idea of sacredness, that you are taking good care. Of course, a lot of people don't take, but that was the whole idea. Sacred cow. Buffaloes are introduced recently, but cows were the original one, and they were supposed to be sacred. So the way they were treated, in most beautiful way.
But yeah, dairy could be as bad as milk, meat.
Yes, it can be. Although still cows are better treated unless they are completely raised for soft beef. Yeah. So that is the fundamental principle, and whatever is suitable for us, we can adjust, because in certain circumstances it cannot be avoided, and it's okay.
Yeah, in that book, the guy, that yogi that lived in the caves, he brought that up in the book, and I thought it was interesting because I was expecting more of this vegetarian diet, and all he did was kind of question, and he brought up some things that were brought up in old books. I guess, what's the other book that Patanjali wrote about Ayurveda, or something? Or they think Patanjali wrote this book on Ayurveda or something. He says even in there, the definition of the food seems like he's talking about meat.
Very true. Because in ancient India, they ate meat also. But as I said, whole idea was to take the life of the most primitive animal, quickly done, and they were otherwise
It was
free.
done in a worship in a whole different
Different way.
manner.
Yeah. And it was free animals, which indigenous people did. But slowly, it became less and less meat eating.
What's interesting though too with that is when they are raised more free, they taste better.
They will taste better.
They do.
They
So
do.
it's crazy that we farm them. It's so odd.
Because of the mass consumption,
Yeah.
and it becomes cheaper.
Yeah.
And also now they are experimenting on them by softening their muscles so they taste soft meat.
My friend owns a Red Rockets. He says he goes through 10,000 chicken wings a week. That's a lot of chickens for one place. It makes you think and think of all the bars and all these other places that sell. Like, where are these chickens coming from?
Yeah.
Why we never eat reptiles and or amphibians, because they're more primitive than the cows and the chicken. So
In China, actually, they do all the time.
I know, but how come most of the world we stuck with cows and chickens?
The reason being, I think the number of reptiles is much less.
Right.
They can they disappear so quickly. More difficult to catch also, but their number is small in comparison of large animals.
Are the chicken and cows in nature, or we actually made them like dogs? Like we breed them, right?
I think so.
They're not like natural animals.
No, I don't think so.
No.
Which ones?
I'm not sure.
Like
Chicken.
cows and farm
Yeah.
animals in general, they're not natural animals, just like dogs.
That's right.
No.
They're all
yeah.
like
domestic.
Right.
Experimented and
Domesticated,
domesticated. You are right.
That's interesting.
It's all I know. I recently became vegan, like, well, not totally vegan. There's still like a little bit of, a little bit. Yeah, dairy never really agreed with me in Canada, but in Europe, I don't have a problem with it at all. Like,
Oh.
I can have cheese, a little bit
Yeah.
of cheese, a little bit of, yeah, and I'm fine. But I just know that I feel different. I feel clear. I feel lighter when I eat meat. I do feel more primitive, but I'm also like really sensitive to energy. So it just makes sense to me. And it was more of an experiment. I did fully vegan for 1 month. Then I started traveling again, so it was a little bit harder to be like healthy vegan, making sure I have all the nutrients and I'm not eating like I don't like the Beyond Meat stuff. I don't like the
Chemical.
yeah, it's not really.
Chemical patties.
But it does feel different. So it's something I've always been curious about because it comes up a lot in yoga with ahimsa, and so it makes sense for sure. And then again with like animals that are free range and stuff, like the energy is going to be very different as well. So yeah, it makes sense.
I always wondered when it comes to that stuff, even with food, because I mean, they say with like nature has life and some type of consciousness, they're saying even with plants, right?
Yes, they have.
So I always wondered if the season plays a role in what you're eating and the energy effect. Say like that you would maybe sacrifice an animal for over the winter and have that food for like over the winter, and then like more during the summer you would have more plant-based kind of stuff and just utilizing the energy of where you're living and the food that is given in that area.
Yeah, I think it was a very good idea, but the problem was that as the number of people, became, and question of storage and all those that became very critical because you couldn't depend only on seasonal growth.
Right.
Yeah. So even Ayurveda, they said you must eat whatever is grown in the region. And why they said, because in those days we couldn't store, right? So they have to depend on that particular season. But as we developed a storage facility, it is possible to really,
Would you think that food that's grown in, say, like bananas that aren't from here, do you think they would have a different energetic reaction within us eating it here that maybe isn't from this area?
It will have, but it will be so minuscule. It won't make any difference. Because in the past you couldn't transport. Because if you transport, everything will be rotten. So they said heavily, that don't eat anything which comes from outside, because they knew some metabolic reaction happened because of the temperature and transportation. It will be infected or had. But now you can preserve it and transfer. And there is no doubt about it. But nonetheless, it is not so significant that it will change the energy structure. So those are the 5: the truth, the non-violence, expansion of consciousness, not celibacy, non-possession and non-stealing. Because in a society where most people follow this, it will be a healthy society and it will help children to grow in a healthier way.
There's just going to be a deeper understanding of each other.
Yes, that's right. So first, to build such a society, so we will have a healthy reference point, healthy identity. And what is that healthy identity? self-care, care of others, boundary, trust.
Of course.
And quest, because we have to go to the second limb. If there is no quest, then I'm stuck here.
Can you
So self-care and care of others, because a person who is, relatively truth speaking, non-possession and so on and so forth, is taking care of others. Otherwise, I will become narcissistic. So self-care, care of others, boundaries. That is why we have to tell children to develop a healthy boundary. All people cannot come in, even for ourselves. I have a boundary, and some people are allowed in fully, some are partially, some not at all. So either it can be total open boundary, nor it can be rigid boundary. A rigid boundary means I'm isolating myself. Open boundary means people will exploit me. So gradually, by hit and trial, we will develop. But the first response, still I say, for children should be no. And then, okay, because they can be exploited so quickly. That has healthy sense of self. And trust. Trust at least on one person. So self-care, care of others, boundaries, and trust. And all these four, the last one is quest. Healthy self is always searching, seeking, looking for more.
You said the trust at least of one person?
At least one person. Because a lot of people want to, oh yeah, I will trust on them or they will trust me. Forget about it. At least one person with whom you can share. We have a healthy reference point. Because this healthy identity is my reference point. If I don't have reference point, becomes a big problem. I cannot make any decision. Should I develop relationship with this person or not? How do I know? Unless I have a reference point. Because in that reference point, I recognize my liking and dislikings and hold that structure. So when I approach that person, I don't just say, okay, I'm going to develop relationship. No, I think for a moment that whether this person will be appropriate or not, if this person is at least on some point we agree, otherwise it will be full of conflict and there will be exploitation and all kinds of things. So this healthy identity is self-reference. I get into school. Unless I have self-reference, what my choice is, what are my preferences, I can go to any subject? No, I won't. I know that this particular branch, mathematics or science or history or geography, attracts me. Those are my references. Because without that reference, I'll be in this vast sea of the world without any boat. That boat which I'm carrying in this turbulent world is my identity, healthy sense of self. And one of the very important point of that healthy self is grounding in the body, connected with the body.
That would be a form of practice, of practicing this?
We can practice later, but in children we can do it very easily. or in adults. And what are the means? Touching, embracing. They are sleeping in the same bed as parents in the beginning. Massaging, taking them in nature, allow them to touch everything. If I'm not grounded in my body as an adult, I will do the same thing. Gradually bringing myself into the body. Without connecting to my body, there cannot be a healthy self. It's an impossibility.
So how do people, like, how would adults practice this? I just want to make sure this is. How would adults practice this?
Any ideas how adults can practice? It's quite easy.
Just going outside.
Going outside in nature is number one. Number two, cleaning my house, cooking my food, washing my dishes, holding the hands of my beloved ones, going for a massage, going for yoga, all body movement. And one of the very good exercise now is what we call interoception. What is interoception? I'm constantly scanning my body, or I have a questionnaire. After every 2-3 hours, I go through that 10 questions. What are those questions? How my head feels. It's heavy, it's okay, it's pain. How my shoulder and neck are. Is there any tension or stress? How my inside of the mouth feels. Is dry? That means I'm thirsty. My body is demanding water. Because body demands. Then I feel my heartbeat. I'm aware of my heartbeat. It may be increasing, it may be decreasing. My breathing. Is it shallow? Or is deep? Or is normal? Do I have a nausea? What about my tummy? I'm feeling hungry or overfilled, or my bladder. Do I have to use my washroom, or I'm postponing it? Or bowel? Am I feeling tired or not tired? Am I feeling sleepy? Am I hot or cold? If I am, then body is demanding. If I'm too hot, I must put a fan on. If I'm cold, I must wrap myself. Because body is constantly signaling the message to the brain, but we ignore them. That is how we disconnected from the body. So the moment we take the stock of the situation, including in our children when they come from school or they are sitting or they are not looking well, immediately we go through. We connected with the body.
You did that meditation in one of the, I think the videos you sent.
Yes.
Focus on the face, focus on the head, and then the heart. And I've been doing that a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been intense. Like, it's been, the other day I think I was telling you, where it was like, I focused on my whole body and the vibration was so intense, where I thought, like, I feel like this is gonna explode, but I don't know, like, but it just wouldn't get to that point. I'm like, I just want it to explode. But I'm like,
You know why? Once you pay attention, what will happen? Now body seems a good care, and you will start feeling energy in your body. And one day will come, no need to worry, it will be spontaneous. Body will tell you even you are not doing anything. It will tell you very accurately.
so it's the practice of, is it like kind of like a concentration on feelings?
Feeling the energy in the body, not
feeling the feeling the energy of the
in
body.
the body. it is not on the feeling of only anger or anything,
Right.
but feeling your body sensations. Because that is how each cell of the body communicates. Sensations.
Would when a feeling arises like anger, concentrating on that, is it still like the same kind of practice that is falling into this? You're just
Yes.
going to get a deeper, like another understanding of something
Another
else.
understanding.
Right.
Because and then you will experience anger as a massive surge of energy. It's very interesting. Once you become aware of it, before anger is formed, you feel energy is rising. And what happens? It never reaches to the point of anger. It gives you a hint. It is going into the anger pattern, but before that, it dissipates. So that is how you will feel. The wave is coming, and before that, it reaches peak and did whatever it. Now it is rising, and it disappears. Its power is gone on you. That is why I say we will feel anger, we will feel jealousy, we will feel fear, but it will be nipped in the bud.
That happened to me with anxiety. I suffered anxiety for years.
Mhm.
And I heard a monk say, just feel it and feel the whole process coming in and out.
That's right.
And I did it once, and I felt everything entirely rise. It lasted maybe about 10 minutes. I just laid there and took the whole process. And ever since then, I haven't had anxiety.
Exactly.
Or it came. It would come, and then I just kind of noticed this thing, and then it was like, boop, boop, gone.
That's right.
Yeah.
So that is a healthy sense of self-connecting. So the yama is basically not allowing or death of narcissism. And you develop a healthy self by those 5 points. It differs from person to person. Because healthy self, once you develop, it became foundation, anchor to function in the world more harmoniously. And how do we know? We are taking care of ourselves, we are sleeping well, we are exercising, we are having adequate food, our relationship, our work, and so on and so forth, self-care. And also we are caring for others. So we are not only self-focused, we have a clear boundaries, a boundary which is porous, we allow someone and we don't allow some others, trust. So we feel completely relaxed in the presence of that person. If you don't trust, you will always be tense. In anybody's prayer. Once we trust, we know that. That person will forgive me. And of course, last is quest. We don't stop here because we laid the foundation in Yama. It's as simple as that. It has to start from the childhood, but if we didn't develop, we can build it later.
It's harder.
It's harder.
So much harder.
Harder because of the pattern is formed.
Yeah.
But this simplifies it. Even just that sense of feeling, like it's such an easy practice that can be done.
Yes. And later on it becomes spontaneous. You need not to do anything.
Plus, it's so easy to introduce into classes for people.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. That's good.
It's neat because I'm seeing how your other teachings are tying into this.
It is a continuation. It is weaving in the same way. We started with the foundation.
Yeah.
And now we are going to build and we are going to move to the peak.
Yeah, I think this is really cool. I
Yeah.
think it's really cool how it is like it's just all forming in together. It's helping me make sense even your other teachings into this, and it's overlapping.
Because they are so interconnected. What is the time, Meera?
6 o'clock.
Almost, yeah.
Oh,
2 5.
right. So we finished within the time because next time we will take Niyam. Ground is laid, seed is sown. The seed is going to break the shell. And our true individuality is going to flourish. Ground is not there, it won't flourish. Ground is laid down. And niyama is the core of whole yoga. If you understand niyama, you understand everything else become very easy. Samadhi is not difficult. It is a niyama people don't understand. That is why Patanjali called 3 components of niyama as Kriya Yoga. Yoga of action. If you took this action, rest, you are just going up and up. This is the most important thing. You laid the foundation, it's a springboard, and now you have to take a leap. So understanding niyama is of vital importance. So even if we need 2 sessions, we will do it because it contains so much. Rest is very easy, asana and pranayama, anybody can do it. Pratyahar will happen automatically. This is the one. Second, so the most important. So there is a yoga within the yoga.
This is great. Thank you, Jivasu. This in itself clears up so much. Like, I guess, just cloudiness of where it seems like it is that impossible to practice yoga when you read other versions of it. It just seems like it is untouchable, but this just makes it so much easier.
It just makes you realize too, it's true how disconnected people are, just so disconnected.
Yes.
It's incredible.
Yes. Because we live in a mental culture.
Yeah.
Body is of secondary importance, merely an instrument. The most of the lives, things are governed by mind. And this influence comes from Western culture, from Plato, Greek philosopher, because he had this Platonic. And and there were 2 gods in Greek culture, Apollo and Dionysus. Dionysus was the god of the body, Apollo was the god of the mind. So Apollo became dominant along with Plato's philosophy, and then it percolated into Christianity. And the one man who really opposed it was Friedrich Nietzsche. Nietzsche realized that that whole Western culture went the mind's way.
And his stuff gets really misinterpreted a
Yeah.
lot.
That's right. But he was a singer of the body. That is why 300 years ago, when this whole Renaissance and Reformation happened in Western culture, they said feelings, emotions are slippery slopes, should not be considered. Body, don't worry about it. It has to be clear, analytical, intellectual mind. That brought a lot of gifts also, science, but nonetheless, we got disconnected from the body. So reconnection has to be made because our whole education, everything is based on mind. And Plato, which is 5th century, around 6th century BC. So it's a long. Many philosophers revolted against it, but the effect was so deep.